We'll talk about a challenge. We call this 900 seconds. Yeah, you try to interview Paul Sunderland in 15 minutes or less, especially because I'm going to cut in on some of his interview time before he even gets to say a word. We're cutting this on Monday, and earlier today, the International Volleyball Hall of Fame had its announcement for the class of 2025, and it's quite a class, but we're especially happy that Paul Sunderland is going in for his as the winner of the award for media excellence. And before I even let him say anything, it's that we got to surprise him yesterday. Me, George Mulry, who's the executive director of the Hall of Fame, and Steve Bishop, who's now the COO of USA Volleyball, but the president of the board, to tell Paul. And we got you.
You did. Gotcha. And I know you had a hand, Lee. So I thank you. I'm very appreciative to the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. And I guess I was an okay player, and it's a good thing I can talk. So I got in there one way or another, but in all sincerity, really appreciate it. And so thankful for the people who had a hand in this. And there are lots of them. I've had some fantastic partners, as you know, and I'll be glad to share this with all of them. I'm thrilled and very honored.
When you won the gold medal in 1984, the USA men's team, was that the end of your volleyball career?
I played for approximately one more year. The last year and a half of my career, unfortunately, for me, not for us as a team, but for me personally, was really marred by injury. I had a devastating ankle injury. I was, just to give you some context, I was MVP of the Norseka Games and really, really playing well. And I started to develop a lot of pain in my left foot, and it just got worse and worse and worse. Long story short, I required surgery in December of '83. Wow. And I went in to meet with Doug Beal, our esteemed head coach. And I said, Doug, I've seen specialists. I've got to have this surgery. And he said, I don't care how long you've been on the team. If you don't get back to 100%, you can forget about LA. And good, and I said, Doug, if I don't have the surgery, you can cut me right now. So I had the surgery. There were some complications, but I made it back in plenty of time, and I was playing quite well. I was in the first 8 or 9, or we were a talented team. And then, unfortunately, about 3 weeks before the Olympics, I've never told this story to anybody publicly. I was diving after a ball, and my hand hit a wet spot, and I tore the labrum in my right shoulder 3 weeks before the Olympics. And so there were some days that my arm worked, and there were some days that it didn't. So long way of saying, I muddled my way through. I did play one, shoulder healed, ankle was fine. I played one more year until '85, and then that was it.
As someone who's torn a labrum, it hurts.
I knew there's a difference between pain and injury. And I knew as soon as I landed that something was very wrong. And I took all of the legal anti-inflammatories, and every picture you see of me at the '84 Olympics, they gave us these little cameras. Every one you see when I'm actually not playing or practicing, I have an ice bag on my shoulder. But I'm fine, and we won. That's all that mattered. I was overjoyed.
What was the first time you did any kind of television work, either play-by-play or analysis?
I was thinking about that, Lee, and that's such an insightful question because it was 1986, prime ticket with Chris Marlowe, Pepperdine and San Diego State college volleyball. And it was the first time I was ever on television. My dear, dear, dear brother and friend, Chris Marlowe, who was my earliest partner, both indoors and on the beach, and to this day is one of my favorite friends and closest friends in the world. But so that was the very first. And I remember Troy Tanner was on that Pepperdine team. And we kind of knew one another because it was still pretty close to my playing days. And I came out to be on television, whatever the heck that meant. And he goes, "Man, Paul, you got a lot of makeup on." I've never forgotten that, because, we don't travel around with an entourage, Chris and I, and to this day, if I have a game at who knows where, or let's say in Las Vegas at the PVF finals, I'm in the restroom of the Leaves family forum, dabbing on some foundation. And I go to Holly McPeak in this case, and I'm going, "How am I doing?" She, "It's okay."
Well, speaking of which, you did call the final of the Pro Volleyball Federation surprise. Both pro leagues had surprise endings, if you will. Teams that we hardly ever would have expected to win won, but the Pro Volleyball Federation season capped off in a wonderful way. You guys had a great broadcast too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Holly McPeak is, again, I've worked with Karch, I've worked with Holly, I've worked with Chris, I've worked with so many people, let alone behind the scenes. And Holly and I did 23 PVF matches this year, including the All-Star game and including the playoffs. Very competitive, a lot of parity. The four teams that made the playoffs, they all, I mean, Orlando went on a 10-match winning streak. Atlanta went on a 10-match winning streak. And Orlando had to replace Adora Anai. And those were big shoes to fill because she is really a good all-around volleyball player. Tremendous defender in the middle back, second best receiver. Orlando lost Georgia Murphy to injury. They had to do libero by committee. And Emmy Klicka from Pittsburgh came in at a moment's notice and did a fantastic job. And this allows me to sing the praises of Natalie Foster, a real unicorn from the service line. And I think she's got some tremendous potential. She put some serving performances on that would scare anybody. I don't care if it was Atlanta or if it was Serbia, Italy, or China. I mean, just amazing.
The person who surprised me the most over the course of last year in volleyball was Brittany Abercrombie, who, when she was at USC, was a nice player. You know, she's just a nice player. She wins Athletes Unlimited last fall, and then goes ahead and just took over the PVF, and especially down the stretch.
She was really, really good, and one of the best attackers at seeing the floor. I mean, she puts pressure on you from area 1 to 2 to the campfire to down the line, and her timing, her feel for when to tip and how to tip. Really a tremendous player. Look, I as part of my job and also loving the game, I watched my fair share of love, and you alluded to that. It was quite surprising that Austin came on and won. Really good for them and really good volleyball. But Brittany was tremendous from the very beginning to the very end. She was the season-long MVP, and deservedly so, and also voted the best opposite. I would have liked to have seen her on Eric's roster. Look, that's a really difficult choice. There's lots of talent there. I'm much more familiar with PVF and the players therein than I am with Love, although, you know, there's so many players that I know at Love because of the Olympics. So I know their body of work. I know their resume. But I think I would have liked to see Sydney Hilly get a chance. I would have liked to have seen Elena Scott get a chance. Corey Lewis is a very, very talented offensive player right now, at times unstoppable. Brooke Nuneviller, she's going to be mad at me for saying this because she's heard it her entire career. Undersized, but she is such a good volleyball player and such an incredible competitor. And I think she'd be fabulous in Eric's locker room. But, you know, I give Eric all the support. You know, he's got a tough job to do. But there were a number. I would put Natalie on that list as well. I don't know if you can carry a 6'4" serving specialist, but she'd be mine.
There were a lot of players this year who emerged and benefiting from being able to play in the domestic leagues, who getting a look, you know, like Mackenzie Adams out of Atlanta and Tia Jimerson, both, you know, who had toiled overseas, and you'd maybe almost forgotten about them. And then, you know, Brooke has always been one of my favorites. I mean, from the time I first saw her as a senior in high school playing, she's just kind of a tweener. You know, she had been in the gym as a libero, and she's, you know, highly not likely to beat out Justine Wong-Arantes or Morgan Hedges, or if Lexi Rodriguez gets, you know, elevated, and you know, she's Zoe Jarvis was so good. And as an outside hitter, she's just a bit undersized. But you know what? She just balls. She just
100%
wins and makes things happen. And I think too, it's early in the quad. It's a chance for a lot of people to go through the system this year, and even next year. Eric Sullivan probably has a chance to look at even more people. And then I think things will get really serious, of course, in 2027, who's really in the mix.
Right. You make a couple of great points, and you've taken words right out of my mouth, because I spoke with a couple of players, Leah Edmond, for example, who I think certainly has the terminal ability to play on Eric's team. And I told Leah at the awards banquet in Las Vegas, keep your head up. Things are different when you've pre-qualified, when you're automatically in. The whole scenario, the whole quad, how it's managed is different. So you just keep training, you just keep getting better and make it impossible, because players decide who plays, not coaches. Players decide. Right. So you just keep playing better. You just keep playing better and make it impossible for them to leave you off. But you look at and you mentioned so many top players in the extended 30-person roster. And this will be Eric's first time through. And I made some notes. They go to the men and women play.
Let me jump in. So yesterday we did the surprise of Paul. He thought we were coming on to do this. And I had set him up for George and Steve to be able to tell him that he was going into the Hall of Fame. And so it was pretty funny. And Paul goes, wait, I have all these notes, because he thought it was just going to be.
Well, I'm coming on with Lee Feinswag. You can't just show up.
So what are those notes got?
Well, you know what else? You know what else these notes have? Well, let's go back. You know who else I want to mention? Molly McCage. Molly McCage is an emerging talent, and I think she was underappreciated, even though I think she won a national championship at Texas. Because let's be honest, the setting at Texas was not high class when she was there. When you see her with a Jordan Poulter or a Micah Hancock or whomever it may be, Molly McCage has got real upside and a solid teammate. I want to see what happens with her summer.
Well, she not only became one of my favorite people years ago and love to talk to her, but to watch her play this year, she was really, really good for Love. And again, another one who was so clutch. And to your point, before we get to those notes, a lot of what happens in 2028 can be dictated by who says they're going to try to come back. Not, Carlini has said she's done. She's done with international.
Yeah, she told me last year she was done.
Jordan Larson said she is not going to try to go to 28. But there's still a lot of spots out there where people on that team, if they decide to come back, are going to make it.
Well, no question about that. But also, that's a double-edged sword. What do they say? Steel sharpens steel. What an opportunity for this 30-player roster. And by my count, there are only a couple of players that are back with Olympic experience. So they're going to be all sorts of first-timers. Yep. And they get an opportunity first in Rio, then in Belgrade, then in the United States, and hopefully, because it'll give them a larger sample size and give Eric and his staff a larger sample size, will be the finals in Łódź in Poland. But, I made Catherine Plummer, not on the list. Micah Hancock, not. Kelsey Robinson. Kelsey had a wonderful Love season, did she not? Yep. Chaka Bagu, Haley Washington.
Right. But Kelsey told me she's going to take this year off.
Yes.
See how it goes. There's no hurry for her. From that same group, Madison Skinner, if she can pass to the level that she needs to, she's going to make that team. And even if she can't pass to the level she needs to.
She's going to be an opposite, though. I think she got a fabulous arm swing for the right side.
Yeah, and
so, but also Jordan Thompson not on the roster. Justine Wong Arantes. And I was surprised Jess Merzick didn't make it.
I don't know. I mean, I talked to Sully right before that was announced, but I didn't talk to him about it afterwards. And
it's difficult. I wouldn't want his job.
Nobody should want that job.
Well, coaching in Olympics, I can speak from firsthand experience. Playing in an Olympics in the United States is very alluring. And that's why I'm not on the men's side. I'm not counting out Matt Anderson. I'm not counting out Max Holt. I'm not counting out Russell. TJ DeFalco is taking this summer off once again. I mean, I just did the men's championship. I mean, I know Moni Nikolov dominated, okay, and the conversation all season long. Fantastic player. But man, I wrote somebody a text, might have been Holly. I said, just finished doing the men's. I don't know if I could play today. So big and so athletic. I mean, Cooper Robinson touches 12-6. Robinson, 12-6. Really? Yeah. I thought that was BS. And Kevin Barnett, who's been following, no, that's the real deal.
No, and we have to make sure it's a whole nother issue for a whole nother video about where we are with men's and boys
Mm,
volleyball. You know, it's great
100%.
on one hand, it's great that the states are starting to add it for high schools and that the club scene is growing. On the other hand,
Where do
don't
they go?
yeah,
Yeah.
don't tell me if you're adding little podunk colleges that I never heard of from somebody who's followed colleges my whole life that we're going to grow the game that way because there's hardly anybody in that gym who comes out of any of those small schools. And then the loss of Grand Canyon was quite sobering to the men's sport. But hey, I haven't
Really
asked
took
you.
me by surprise. Very sobering. That's the right word.
Yeah, we're well past 900 seconds, and I'm committed to the
Okay.
900
Sorry.
seconds, give or take, for until we get start of NCAA season. Um, I I haven't asked you this, and I don't want to put you on the spot. Have you secured what you're going to be doing in terms of NCAA women's volleyball for next fall, or is that still a work in progress?
Um, a work in progress. My contract is up in August. I'm very much looking forward to renewing my agreement with ESPN. It's been a very solid and fun, wonderful relationship. I look forward to covering the college game again. Not in my hands right now, but I'm fair. I'm confident that people will have to put up with me for years to come, and I'm already in conversations with the PVF about a long-term extension and going forward on that front as well. So it looks like, well, I shared this with you privately, but well, I guess, yeah, I've already opened the can of worms. I'm planning on 2028 Olympic Championship, Olympic final, and the women go last. So it'll be the USA women win gold. Mike, then I'm done. 2028. I'll be very old by then, as opposed to just super old now.
Well, I certainly hope that that's exactly how it works out, and I look forward to the two of us having a couple of
Yeah,
cocktails that night.
I look forward to it in the college season. We got. I have a card on that too. I did my prep on that too. But 900. I love it, Lee. 900 square feet and 900. I think that's really a neat concept. And thank you for all that you do and taking the time to talk to me and for all that you did for my award and distinction at the International Volleyball Hall of Fame. It's a heartfelt appreciation.
Well deserved. We will see you on the trail soon. Thank you for doing this as always. And thanks everyone for watching and sign up for the email. It's free.
Sign up. Sign up.